I'm 28 years old. My marriage of 5 years ended due to severe conflict. At first, everything was fine, but after the 3rd year of our marriage, my husband started to change. We were fighting all the time. I could not take it anymore. The decision to separate was very difficult for me because my family did not want this marriage from the beginning. I left my job for my ex-wife. I'm a paramedic. Now I had to go back to my family. I had not been practicing my profession for 5 years. It was really hard for me to make this decision. When I look back now, I wish I had listened to my family. I should not have quit my profession. Most of my job applications were unsuccessful. I finally got a job in the emergency department of a hospital. This hospital was close to my family's house. I forgot to mention, my family lives in Stockbridge. It is a very quiet place for me. I had been living in Albany for a long time. I hope I can save up money and move into a separate house soon. My shifts changed weekly. I worked day shift one week and a night shift the next week. Working in the emergency department is really tiring. Every day I worked, an average of 150 patients came to the hospital. Many patients came from other regions as well. I was getting used to Stockbridge. I had a few friends from the hospital. We usually had toast with them after work. My shift ended at 12 o'clock that night. I was hungry. Luckily, I made it to Burger King before it closed. I was going to eat my burger at home. I really like to eat something while watching a movie. I stopped by a gas station on the way home. I went inside to pay. I also got some snacks. When I got out, there was a black SUV, but I couldn't see the owner. When I reached my car, a man suddenly appeared next to my car. I screamed involuntarily. I was scared. "I'm sorry I scared you. There's a problem with your front tire. I was looking at it," he said. He was a kind person. My front tire was indeed flat. But when I checked it when I left the hospital, it looked fine. With the help of that man, we changed my car's tire. I thanked him. I went home. I watched a movie for a while, ate my food. I had to go to work in the morning. I went to bed early. The next day, on my way to work, I ran into the man I had seen at the gas station in the parking lot of our apartment building. He greeted me as soon as he saw me. "Do you live here too? I haven't seen you before," he said. Actually, I had never seen that man either, but I didn't think much about it because I had been in another city for a long time. He asked me which apartment I lived in. I told him I lived in apartment number 22. He said he lived in apartment number 46. That day after work, my family and I went to the shopping mall. It was good for me to go to the shopping mall. When we returned home, we saw that the door was open. It looked like it had been forced open. My dad went inside to check the house. We called the police immediately. A minute later, we started hearing noises from inside. I ran inside in fear. My dad and a person wearing a black mask were fighting. My dad finally neutralized that person in our house. A few more neighbors who heard the noises came. With their help, we tied the hands and feet of that person who entered our house until the police arrived. When my dad took off the mask from that person's face, I had the shock of my life. That man who entered our house was the same person I had met at the gas station yesterday. My hands were shaking with fear. The police arrived at that moment. They asked if we knew that man. I told the police I saw the man at the gas station last night, that he checked my tires, and that I saw him in our parking lot this morning. The police took the man away. They invited us to the police station to take our statements. The man told the police everything. His aim was not to harm us, but to commit theft. He was the one who flattened my tire that night. He installed a GPS in my car. He didn't live in our apartment anyway. He followed me to my apartment with the GPS. And like an idiot, I told him the number of the apartment I lived in. After this incident, we had an alarm system installed in our apartment. I learned to be more careful with strangers I don't know. We could have been home when that man entered our house. He could have hurt us. That's why I'm careful with everyone I don't know. I live in Chicago and my family lives in Atlanta. I had left Atlanta for about 10 years ago. I hadn't seen my family in a year. I took a week off from work and was going to visit my family. I missed them so much. My plan was to leave at 8 p.m. and reach Atlanta around 10 a.m. I was going to drive to Atlanta. I thought the roads would be quiet since I was going to leave in the evening. After getting my stuff ready, I set off. The roads were quiet, as I had thought. I hadn't eaten dinner. I thought I would grab a snack on the way. I started getting hungry around 11 p.m. I also needed to gas up my car, so I was looking for a place to get gas and eat. I decided to stop by a gas station I saw on the road. I was going to get gas and a sandwich to fill my stomach. I pulled into a gas station about 10 minutes later. In a moment of absent-mindedness, I hit the door of a parked car. It was an old white Volvo. I don't know how I made such a mistake. I got out of my car immediately. The owner of the car I hit was nowhere to be seen. After waiting for about 5 minutes, the owner of the car came. "I'm so sorry. I accidentally damaged your car. I want to pay for the damage I caused. Forgive me," I said, and gave my number. It was obvious from the man's attitude that he was very angry. "You will have my car fixed now," he shouted. I told him that I had to go to Atlanta, that I was in a hurry, and that I would definitely pay for the damage. But the man was not convinced. He wanted me to fix his car right then. It was very late. There was no way I could find an open repair shop, even if I wanted to. Even though I tried to explain this to the man, he was not convinced. I had $1,000 in cash on me. I gave the man the money. This amount was much more than the damage I had caused. But I didn't want to bother. I bought gas for my car, bought a sandwich, and set off. I had lost a lot of time. I increased my speed a little. I wanted to make up for the time I had lost. I had gone about 5 miles. I noticed a vehicle approaching quickly from behind me. I was driving on the right side of the road, but the car behind me was approaching without slowing down. He's a drunk driver, I thought. I moved into the middle lane, and the car behind me moved into the middle lane as well. When I looked in my rearview mirror, I noticed that the car behind me was getting very close. What really scared me was that the car behind me was the one I had hit at the gas station. I moved back into the right lane, but every time I moved into the right lane, he moved into the right lane as well. I was in big trouble. I couldn't get away from that guy. I slowed down so he could pass me, but he wouldn't let go. What was this guy's problem? I have paid much more than the damage I have done. He suddenly hit my car from behind. I increased my speed to get away from him. I didn't want to stop because he was not a smart person. I called the police immediately. I told them everything. The police told me to calm down, that the teams were on their way, and that I should go to the Shell gas station 2 miles away. We were going to meet the police there. I hope they arrived before me. I increased my speed, pressing the gas pedal all the way down. My heart felt like it was going to jump out of my chest with the excitement of that moment. But the psychopath behind me wouldn't stop following me. He hit my car from behind once more. I almost went off the road due to the impact. I managed to control my car with difficulty. My momentary distraction had gotten me into serious trouble. I finally reached the gas station. The police had arrived before me. I stopped right next to them, but the man following me hadn't arrived at the gas station. My whole body was shaking with fear. I told the police everything that had happened to me. I told them which gas station I had entered. They said they would look at the camera footage and catch that man. There wasn't much damage to my car. So even though I was very scared, I continued on my way. The police accompanied me for a while. I reached my family's house without any problems, but I never heard from the police about whether that man had been caught or not. Sometimes, a momentary mistake you make can't be repaired. From that day on, I never drove when I was tired, because even if you compensate for the damage you caused, sometimes the results may not be what you wanted.